Oppenheimer. So this is the story of Robert Oppenheimer and the creation of the atomic bomb. Now, this was during a time when there was a lot of conflict, and it tells the film tells the story of the creation of the very first weapon created by the United States of America. And it's played by the incredible actor, Mr. Cillian Murphy. Now, this was versing the box office between this and Barbie, and even though I've seen Barbie, this for me was far better. It's not the film of the year, as I've said before, and I told you I'd give you the reason, and I will give you the reason why. But this film is a historic moment of an event that everyone knows about. The atomic bomb linked to Hiroshima. Now, if you don't know about the Hiroshima, then you better brace yourself, because it doesn't get any more real than this. I'm not going to give it away, but if you don't know about Hiroshima, then you're about to be educated, and it is a brilliant part of history. It's real, it's important, and it's just incredibly detailed. That's all I'm giving away because I really don't want to spoil it for you. What's really impressive about this film is the cast. The cast is phenomenal in this. The cast list for each of these characters is amazing. You've got names as Florence Pugh, Rami Malek, Gary Oldman, Matt Damon, Josh Peck, Tom Conti, Jason Clarke, Emily Blunt, Robert Downey Jr. The names go on. And those who are aware, during this time, this film doesn't just talk about the creation of the atomic bomb, but it also follows the story of Robert Oppenheimer and the path that he went on. You go through his thought processes, his emotional responses, his structured planning to the creation of the bomb, and an in-look detail of his life, his family life, the famous Kitty Oppenheimer. Now, those who don't know, they have a lot of chemistry together. Emily Blunt and Cillian Murphy, they're just brilliant together. Their relationship is really well portrayed on screen, and you really go into the dramatic details of this story, because they have a lot of back and forth between them, and it, you know, with the detail you discover in this film, it's very cleverly done, and it really does work. One famous moment in this film that it focuses on. Now, most of you who know history create the atomic bomb because they believed that other countries were trying to attack them and they wanted a better moment of defence. And the controversial fight between them at the historic moment that I won't go into much detail with because it's shown in the film is iconic. It opens a lot of conspiracy theories, and it opens a lot of discussion as well. Like when people bring this up over a drink, if you go out with your mates and you talk about the event and bring this up, many people have valued opinions of the event, and their theories and confirmed claims against Oppenheimer and Lewis Strauss and their relationship came towards. And what's very clever about this film is you make your very own decision. The director allows the audience members and the participants that watch it to make their very own decision about what happened at the end of this. And do you agree? So basically, do you agree with Oppenheimer? Was it right? Do you agree with Lewis Strauss? Was this a massacre? Not going into detail why. Or was this just the cost of war? And what's very clever about this film, in the quote, there are quotes in this movie, sacrifice is required in the cost of war. And that was made by Mr. Henry Truman. Now, I've got a friend of mine who is really into American details, and she will probably give me her opinion on Truman, President Truman, because people called him like another Nixon, because the things that he did in history was questionable, if I can basically. Of Oppenheimer, and it goes through the detail of his time in university when he's recruited by Matt Damon's character, General, the colonel that did the project, General Groves, and how Einstein, or the way they portray Albert Einstein in this is fabulous. Tom Conti's portrayal of Einstein is fantastic, and all And there was other great scientists as well, such as Richard Feynman. And I've not seen Richard Feynman portrayed in a film before like this, so it's quite clever to learn about the history and the collaboration between them two as well, and how the creation of the atomic bomb happened. Because don't forget, this is during a time of the Cold War. You see a lot of a pathway between the Cold War and the Cold War and the world and the Second World War, and there's a lot of time barrier between it. But it was a very heightened, climactic, very scared time where people believed that each country was going to attack each other, and there was always conspiracy theories, and obviously there was a lot of communist values as well. I can't go too much into that. Most of you will know about the communists and what they believed in. There's certain family way as well, and that's portrayed in this as well. But as you're going through the whole politics and war, you also learn a lot more the choices that Oppenheimer made with a couple of relationship partners. One famous one is Miss Emily Blunt, if you remember, who played Emily Blunt, and another one that we know of is also Florence Pugh, played Jean Tatlock. Now, if you know about Jean Tatlock, they had a very lot of history together that is portrayed well. It's a brilliant story. There are some very climactic moments in it, very real space decisions and scenes that's made. There was one famous scene they portray, is the famous conversation between Albert Einstein and Robert Oppenheimer. And if you remember, Albert Einstein helped Germany with weapons during the time of the World War and the Cold War. And it really goes into detail about what Albert Einstein was made to do, the sacrifices, the risks he does, and this iconic, historic conversation that was happening in history, and it's done beautifully, and it's done in such a beautiful, detailed, realistic way. And I have to just props to Tom Conti, whose portrayal of Albert Einstein is absolutely fantastic. It's so weird how much he looks like him. And also Robert Downey Jr. portrayal of Louis Strauss, as most people call him the Vendetta, the man that tried to start a war, the man that was responsible for deaths of people. There's many different opinions about him, but if you were to find two photos between Robert Downey Jr. and Louis Strauss actually and compare them, the detail and how much they look alike is insane. It is brilliant. The script is fabulous, the direction is so done well, and what most historic moment about Oppenheimer is when the atomic created, obviously it's going to happen in the film because you know one expecting it, so it's not really a spoiler. When they show the first demonstration, the way that the scene is showed, the sound is done, the lighting, everything, it is so realistic because you're in the cinema, and when it goes off, you really do feel it in the cinema. It's so brilliantly done. And what's really clever is it really goes into the politics of the controversial fight between Louis Strauss and Robert Oppenheimer, and the famous historic moment, that's all I'm going to say because I don't want to spoil it, that took place in Washington. And this big conspiracy event was spoken about, and if you were in school you should know about it because history teachers teach kids about this, and this moment of, did we give the wrong people the wrong chance to create weapons? Did we give the wrong sort of people the wrong materials to create these weapons? Because what happens with the atomic bomb, which I can't go into in too much detail about, will shock you, and it is very real. And you really do feel the emotional response between what's happened as well. It's so brilliantly done. Script is great. There's one small problem I do have with it. Even though the historic moment between Louis Strauss a little bit more longer than I want it to do, it really does drag. Like, there is a point where I was watching the film, okay, we get the point of it, we don't need to keep going back. Please just continue the story. And it just develops a little bit more too much on that historic meeting, I can say that, historic meeting in Washington, and it's famous, that meeting, and it just completely just keeps attached to it, and you're just like, well, get on with it, you know what I mean? That's the only reason. But the cast is phenomenal. As I've spoken about before, Florence Pugh, amazing as Jean Tatlock, showed the chemistry. You've got to give Cillian Murphy an award for Robert Oppenheimer because, wow, his portrayal was fantastic. His thought process was amazing. His emotional response was fantastic. You really see the dramatic changes and the passion that he has for his craft, and also the sort of like journey that he goes on in his mind. You can see what he goes through and how he has to deal with all this. And it's a very good portrayal. Just don't forget, he was called all sorts of names. Madman, fascist, that was a big thing back in this time. Fascist, people called them quite a lot. Murderer, evil man, genius, all these words that are resounding and connected to Oppenheimer are portrayed in this film. And everyone had different opinions on him. Most of the government were just like, you can't allow this man to work in America. He's a traitor to our country. He's insane. He's a betrayer to the flag, all that sort of stuff. And he got some grit. He got some rape grit, especially from a person that he thought was his friend. You've also got Rami Malek in this, has played David Hill, one of the scientists that comes on board with Robert Oppenheimer. Jack Quaid plays Richard Feynman. Their relationship is spectacular. Their chemistry is amazing. Their back and forth works. It is so iconic. It's so done well, and the level is amazing. It's absolutely brilliant. Josh Peck is Bainbridge, plays Bainbridge, one of the scientists. He's really good in this. You know Josh Peck from Turner and Hooch. You've got Tom Conti, as I spoke about, Jason Clarke, Kenneth Branagh, David DeHaan. The list goes on. And Emily Blunt's portrayal of Kitty Oppenheimer is fantastic because, wow, if you didn't think their relationship is iconic, watch this film because you'll see the troubles and the hills and the mountains that these two climb. Even when he's having chill, even when he's starting his family, you really do feel it. So, honestly, Oppenheimer is moving, it's brilliant, it's fantastic. It drags